Coming up, a judge hands down a 25-year sentence for a drive-by shooting.
It is the return of winter. We've got a handful of cancellations. Those are beginning to mount. Of course, we'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And nonprofit groups feel the strain from the rising cost of gas and groceries. Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Tanya, we've got thunderstorms, we've got freezing rain, and we've got snow. Well, we're going to start with the rain, though. We've got flood watches along and south of I-44. Take a look at this shot. That's from our tower cam there at 7th and Range Line. The rain just coming down sideways right here. This has really picked up in about the past hour or so. Now, as we break down the Skywatch Storm Tracker, we're still sitting on the other side of the freezing line here from, say that line from Bartersville to Pittsburgh up just to the southeast of Nevada. So that's going to stay as rain, but once again, that's why we've got those flooding concerns throughout southwest Missouri. We're seeing just a little sliver of the freezing rain. The purple indicates the rain-snow mix, so that's a little bit better than the freezing rain indicated in pink, and of course the blue up here, that's where we'll see the majority of our snowfall on this Thursday, as the numbers will mount up to the north and eventually spread across the state line into southwest Missouri. Remember, your one-stop shop for your closings, whether it be schools, colleges, organizations, businesses. KOAMnewsnow.com, KOAMnewsnow.com. This is constantly being updated. As a matter of fact, we've had a couple more schools chime in here in just the last 15 minutes alone. Here's a look at those temperatures. That's that dividing line I was talking about, where you get on this side, at least it can stay as rain for the time being. But huge gap as well, still sitting close to 50 degrees down to the south of I-44. Compare that to dropping below 30 to the northwest as the cold front moves through. Here's our color codes. Flood watches indicated there in green, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of rain before it's all said and done. The purple indicates a winter weather advisory all the way until 9 o'clock tonight. And we were talking about that snowfall accumulation. That will be indicated in the pink. That is a winter storm warning, not a watch. That is a warning. Remember, watch means, hey, let's be on our toes. Warning means it's pretty imminent as far as what's going to happen, because as we work through the later morning and afternoon hours, you'll see it flips over to snow, but our top portion of our highlighted counties, that's what's really going to dominate our snowfall. So as far as our snow prediction goes, we'll be looking at slick roads. We've already got multiple reports of people just saying they've hit patches of it. Now, according to the Missouri Department of Transportation, so far roads remain clear. We're going to monitor 44 and 49 the entire morning. And then, Tanya, after we get through today, good rebound. Let's just be on our toes for this Thursday.
All right, definitely be on your toes today. Well, a Coffeyville, Kansas man learns his prison sentence for a drive-by shooting death. A judge sentenced Benjamin Mason II to 25 years without the possibility of parole for killing 19-year-old Kimberly Meeks in 2019. Mason pled no contest to a charge of first-degree murder in the case. He had originally been charged with a number of other crimes in the shooting, including attempted first-degree murder. But those charges were dropped as part of a plea deal. Mason was 18 at the time of the shooting. One of 9 suspects in a Lawrence County murder investigation gets prison time. A judge sentenced Kimberly Henderson to 25 years in prison for first-degree robbery. She was originally charged with first-degree murder in the 2020 shooting death of Sarah Pascoe. 3 other suspects in the crime have been sentenced. For more on that and the status of the remaining suspects, you can check out this story at KOAMnewsnow.com. Independence, Kansas police arrest 2 suspects accused of throwing a chemical bomb out of a vehicle. The incident happened on February 2nd. Police say Kendra Musgrove and Josh Wallace made the bomb and threw it near the home of Wallace's ex-wife. Both Musgrove and Wallace are charged with criminal use of explosives, attempted criminal damage to property, and aggravated assault and attempted arson. Mercy Hospital in Joplin is changing its visitor restrictions to pre-pandemic policies, except when visiting COVID-positive patients. Hospital visitors will not be screened when they come in, but will still need to wear a medical-grade mask. Officials say the change stems from changes to Medicare and Medicaid services guidelines. Area nonprofits are being hit hard by inflation on goods such as groceries and fuel. The Area Agency on Aging says it's trying to work around it. The biggest program affected is Meals on Wheels. They say they've had the same government funding since 2009. And they say inflation has made it difficult to deliver meals to their seniors.
Making sure we have all the components for the home delivered meals program. And it also includes maintenance on the trucks that we use to deliver those meals. We got the fuel, the tires, all of that. We are stuck at 2009 funding from the state and the federal government.
They've increased the number of fundraisers per year to help with cost. Oklahoma state tax on grocery purchases would be eliminated under a bill a Senate committee easily approved. The tax currently stands at 4.5%. Senate Finance Committee unanimously approved the bill on Tuesday. A similar measure to phase out the tax over 3 years cleared a House committee last week with bipartisan support. Governor Kevin Stitt endorsed the idea last week in his State of the State address. Neither bill would prohibit cities or counties from levying their own sales tax on groceries. Well, the East Newton Animal Coalition is looking to track down a group of feral cats in Granby, Missouri. They say there are about 15 to 20 of them. Coalition wants to take advantage of its trap, neuter, release program and ultimately find them a new place to roam. Ideally, they would like to send the rescued cats to a barn or home that will allow them to live outside because at this point the cats cannot be domesticated. Coalition receives no funding from the city and oftentimes comes out of the pocket for the care of the animals.
If I had to say I was ever called to do something, this would be it. I've been doing this almost 30 years. I've tried getting out of it different times during my life, and a few months later I'm right back in the middle of it.
You can help the coalition through cash donations, and we've provided their information on this story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Break out your costumes because the Freeman 5K and Walk for Freedom will have a superhero theme. On Wednesday, the health system announced the theme at a press conference. The event raises money for the Bill and Virginia Leffen Center for Autism. Officials say the superhero theme was chosen because the money raised can make a world of difference for families.
The money raised here primarily goes to help us with program development, to be able to provide services to individuals in the Joplin area and the four-state area. Also helps to fund our scholarship program for our younger children that receive intensive ABA therapy.
The race is set for April 23rd at the Leffen Center. It starts at 8 a.m. You can find sign-up information in this story online at KOAMnewsnow.com. Oklahoma Commissioner of Public Safety announces due to inclement weather, state agencies may temporarily reduce non-essential services beginning this morning at 7 a.m. and ending at 12 p.m. This reduction will affect the following counties in Oklahoma: Kay and Noble counties, Osage, Payne, and Pawnee. State employees designated to maintain basic minimum services or staff essential functions should remain at work or report to work as scheduled. 507.
Tanya, we're seeing a whole lot of heavy rain along that bend right before it flips over into the freezing drizzle right there. Flooding is going to be a concern for southwest Missouri, and then slick roads are going to be the concern for the central and northern portion of the four states. We're actually already flipping over to snow up in the far northwest. Cancellations continuing to grow. Remember, all you have to do is go to KOAMnewsnow.com, KOAMnewsnow.com. Click on our closings tab, and that will give you your resources for organizations, businesses, and schools.
All right, thank you, Michael. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, if you don't know the name Christine Williams, you will. The Pitt State track and field star has been on fire this season. We'll take a closer look in sports. Plus, the new comedy Severance takes a comedic look at the work-life balance, and we want to know how well you balance work and life. And stick around because we're going to show you 10 medical innovations that could have a big impact on your health in 2022. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Kansas Crossing Casino welcomes America on KOAM TV.
This week is rivalry week for Pittsburgh State and Missouri Southern basketball. Two teams meeting twice in the next 4 days. Beginning with a doubleheader in Joplin, we will start with the women's game. Lions tied for first place in the MIAA, trying to push that win streak to 12 against the Gorillas. Lions off to a fast start. Lacey Stokes, check out the no-look pass. Ho! Finds Amaya Johns down low for the finish. Then on the other end, it's Tristan Gegg. Gegg had 13 in the first half, but Southern up 5 after the first quarter. Maddie Stokes takes over in the second. Pick and roll from Lacey Stokes. 11 points, 8 rebounds for Maddie in the first alone. Lions lead 36-28 at halftime. More Maddie Stokes in the third quarter. 25 points, 13 rebounds. Southern gets the lead back to 14 points. Gorillas able to fight back. Gegg, another 3. Gegg had a team high, 25. Then Sydney Crane from the corner. Crane's going to get this game within 7. But Lacey Stokes is the MIAA Freshman of the Year, maybe Player of the Year. 11 in the fourth to close it out. 11 points in the fourth quarter alone. She had 22 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds. Lions roll by the Gorillas, 80-65.
My teammates have a lot of confidence in me, and in those last minutes getting down the hill and being able to finish in the paint, having Maddie in there, it's hard to, if they switch, I go to Maddie. If they stay, then I get a layup. So it's really nice. Me and Maddie kind of work together in the fourth quarter a lot together.
Our pick and roll was really good tonight between Lacey and Maddie. So we got a lot of positive things there, and I thought we did a great job on the offensive boards as well. Second half especially, we went and attacked the offensive boards, got some second and third opportunities.
Men's game, Southern looking for its 3rd win in the last 4 games. The Lions hot early thanks to Winston Desisau. Stops, buries the 3. 9-0 Southern to open the game. Christian Bundy rolls to the hoop. Flush it two-handed. Lions up double digits early, but Pitt State gets hot to close out the first half. Antonio Givens turns with a little baby hook shot. Tyler Hawkins, the drive, the score, the foul. Hawkins had 18 last night. But tonight was the magic Relaford show that we've been waiting for. 3 from the left-hand side. Later off the screen, the Labette County High School product, 5 threes, led the Gorillas with 24, and a huge road win for Pitt State as they beat Southern 95-82. Christine Williams having one big-time indoor season for the Pitt State track and field team. Over the weekend, Williams broke her own school record in the 200-meter dash. For the 3rd time this season, she won the event at the 7th Annual Gorilla Classic, a time of 24.07 seconds, the best time in all of Division II this season. Tuesday, she was named the MIAA Women's Track and Field Athlete of the Week for the 2nd consecutive week, because on top of her new school record in the 200, oh, by the way, she posted a provisional qualifying mark in the 60-meter and then helped her team do the same in the 4x4 relay.
It feels good because I've been through so much, so just to get recognition like that means just a lot. Breaking records back to back just shows that I'm improving over and over.
She's really developed her confidence on workouts, and our training has changed to kind of help her out with that.
Those workouts, they're killing me at practice, but at the end of the day, it helps me like PR and break records, so they might kill me, but at the end of the day, I'm winning.
She's become a leader on the team. And just her overall confidence in her own ability and believing in herself. And she's starting to actually believe that she can run the 4x4 as well. And I think all that comes together, and you can see her confidence on the track.
Yeah, not only Christine's confidence on the track, but I've had the fortune to bump into her on campus after practice and whatnot, and just a delightful young person. And congratulations, she deserves everything that she has achieved. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, Russia continues to amass troops on the border of Ukraine. But another Russian threat may take place much closer to home in the form of a cyber attack. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Lander Chevrolet of Joplin is proud to offer.
Here we are at mile marker 18 on I-44. We're going to pay special close attention to this traffic map right here, because it's actually going to be right on that dividing line as far as where we're going to see slick roads compared to wet roads. Give you an idea of those road conditions here and what we're anticipating, and you can tell that's going to fall right along that line. So we're going to visit that camera multiple times today. There we are over 7th and Range Line, where the rains consistently come down pretty much sideways all morning long. 34 degrees, still just above the freezing mark, and our ground fortunately warm coming off of the past 3 days that we've had. That being said, we are seeing the transition period here, the pink indicating the freezing rain, purple, rain-snow mix, and of course the blue, the snow, and then heavy rain right along that line. That means we're going to have some flooding concerns throughout portions of southeast Kansas in to southern southwest Missouri as well. That being said, we also have a number of cancellations because we're beginning to see everybody slip below 32, and so we'll have to keep a close eye on those roads, as it was just as anticipated after we got past midnight. Down it went. So remember, we've got flood watches there in the green, 2 to 4 inches of rain, winter weather advisories in the blue, winter storm warnings in the pink, because that's where we'll see the majority of our snow accumulation. As we work into the later morning hours, we'll see everything flip back over to snow, anywhere from 2 to 4 through the central portion, and you could even see a little bit more than that up in the far northwest, perhaps even 4 to 6, maybe pockets of 8. And then as you get below 44, just a dusting to 1 inch. That being said, all we got to do is be safe today. We get through into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll have a quick little melt with anything, as we'll even have 50s and 60s there on Saturday and Sunday. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Instapoll, our Something to Talk About. New comedy series bringing a new meaning to work-life balance. Star-filled cast of a show called Severance. All right, Ashley Dvorkin has the details.
I give consent.
The new Apple TV Plus series Severance introduces Lumen Industries, where employees surgically divide work and personal memories.
I found it sort of a unique world and not one that I had really encountered.
There was areas where it would go wild and then superstructure and then wild.
It reminded me of certain workplace office comedies over the years that I'd seen, but then also had this weird sort of absurdist other layer to it, because there was a mystery of why these people were there and what they were doing, and they all didn't know who they were, and it was fascinating to me.
I was thinking like an Office Space comedy, if the case of the Mondays is that your entire brain is wiped of the weekend. That would
yeah, exactly, right.
Being actors can bring a unique perspective on work-life balance.
You yourself is your instrument that you use to do the job, and your how you look. You know, you go outside and people may recognize you or something. So it's kind of impossible to separate yourself from your job.
The challenge, I think, or the reality comes in is when we go home, you know, and we remember what we did on stage, or we remember what we did on set, and it may haunt us, or, you know, we're able to let it go.
It's not always easy to leave work at the office.
It's really important to really, you know, be able to let it go when you're interacting with people who, like your kids, who really don't care about it and are, you know, are much more interested in just like, you know, being with you, which is much more fun too. So, you know, over the years, I think I've gotten better at that.
What is it we actually do here?
Our question for you this morning is, how is that work-life balance for you? You can log on, let us know what you think. We'll get to your results. More importantly, remember, KOAMnewsnow.com. KOAMnewsnow.com is your one-stop source for all of our closings. We've had a couple new ones pop up since we started the show. Namely, want to point out Pittsburgh USD 250 closed for today. That's our largest one that's hit the board so far. And of course, that list will continue to grow. KOAMnewsnow.com is your source. And remember, it's schools, organizations, businesses as well. We'll be back with Health Watch right after this.
Good luck trying to find a farmer that won't farm.
Topping Health Watch this morning, drug overdoses are skyrocketing across the United States. According to the CDC, about 104,000 people died from such overdoses in the 12-month period that ended last September. That's twice the number as 6 years prior. COVID pandemic is partially to blame, and researchers say it's going to take time to turn the tide. They believe even if COVID-19 went away overnight, it would take at least a year for the number of overdoses to stabilize. Most of us wouldn't paint the pandemic in a positive light, but there are some major medical innovations that have emerged that could have a huge impact on our health. Mandy Gaither has the top 10 advances that may change medicine in 2022.
If you're looking for a silver lining in the darkness of the pandemic, here it is. The mRNA technology that led to Pfizer and Moderna's COVID-19 vaccines may help with other diseases. It tops the Cleveland Clinic's list of 10 innovations expected to change medicine. Next on the list, a new FDA-approved therapy for prostate cancer, touted as a way to better detect and treat that disease. Doctors say the technology will kill a cancer cell but won't affect the tissue that surrounds it.
We can also see it using imaging techniques. There's a technique called positron emission imaging, or PET imaging, where you can actually see the radioisotope working, killing the cancer cells.
Other innovations on the Cleveland Clinic list include a new treatment for postpartum depression, a targeted medicine for hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a new drug for type 2 diabetes treatment, a novel treatment to help with high blood cholesterol, non-hormonal alternatives for menopausal hot flashes, an implantable device that can help paralyzed patients move again, new technology to detect sepsis earlier, and finally, a way to predict and potentially prevent hypertension.
Well, if you'd like more information on each of the new medical innovations, you can check out clevelandclinic.org. More people than ever participated in Dry January, also known as Dryuary, this year. A food and drug research firm found 35% of legal-aged adults in the U.S. gave up alcohol for the entire month to reset their bodies in the new year. The previous high was 21% set in 2019. Participants credited their commitment to a growing selection of non-alcoholic drinks and mocktails. A number of non-alcoholic options have appeared on shelves in recent years from such brands as Budweiser, Heineken, and Guinness owner Diageo. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Roper Honda.
Coming up, a judge hands down a 25-year sentence for a drive-by shooting.
Winter weather is back as we have everything from heavy rain and flooding concerns to even some good snow accumulation. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And nonprofit groups feel the strain from the rising cost of gas and groceries.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Michael Hayslip.
Let's jump right to it, Tanya. I know that probably first and foremost on a lot of people's minds is going to be what schools, activities, business organizations are closed for today. Remember, all you have to do is go to KOAMnewsnow.com. Of recent note, Pittsburgh 250 chiming in. They're going to be closed for today. Also recently popping up, we had Neosho on the list in Nevada, a slew of Oklahoma schools called very early, but once again, this is completely updated as we go throughout the morning. Of course, as our larger districts pop up, we will definitely bring those to you ASAP. As far as our road conditions, we'll have that dividing line really right along I-44. Farther south you go, it's going to be wet, but the majority of the 4 states are going to encounter some slick spots out on our roads today. Now, ground not too bad considering we had the 3 days of warm weather. Look at the rain coming down sideways there at 7th and Range Line. My goodness, and the temperature steadily dropping. Still holding on just above the freezing line, but not for too long. The pink, that's the part that we really got to worry about. Of course, that's the freezing rain. The purple indicating the wintry mix. And we'll get to snow here in a second, but this right here, that is some good old-fashioned heavy rain that's resulting in flood watches all the way through southwest Missouri and even down into portions of northeast Oklahoma. Not going to be surprised if we don't have our creeks, rivers, and streams very, very full by the time this is all said and done. Wide variety of temperatures, everything moving down to the southeast will continue to freeze over for the rest of the day. Here's what we got watching warning-wise. In the green, those are the flood watches that we talked about. The purple indicates the winter weather advisory. Now, the purple, the pink, that's the winter storm warning. That means it's pretty imminent, and here's why I bring up those northern counties. Because as we look at the snow track in for later this morning into the afternoon hours, we got some good accumulation that's going to build up there to the north. That is for sure. See pockets of in excess of 4 inches. Now, as you get below I-44, that's when we go dusting just to 1 inch. All we got to do is get through today, because after that, we're really going to end the week in a fine fashion. Great looking weekend as well, Tanya. I mean, the snow's not going to be able to last like it did with our event at the beginning of the month. But yeah, like I said, we stay on our toes today. Go to KOAMnewsnow.com for your cancellation list, and we'll be through this by tomorrow morning.
There you go.
Yep.
Kids will be back in school.
Definitely not as elongated as what we had, February 2nd, 3, and 4.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Michael. Well, Coffeyville, Kansas man learns his prison sentence for a drive-by shooting death. A judge sentenced Benjamin Mason II to 25 years without the possibility of parole for killing 19-year-old Kimberly Meeks in 2019. Mason pled no contest to a charge of first-degree murder in the case. He had originally been charged with a number of other crimes in the shooting, including attempted first-degree murder, but those charges were dropped as part of a plea deal. Mason was 18 at the time of the shooting. One of 9 suspects in a Lawrence County murder investigation gets prison time. A judge sentenced Kimberly Henderson to 25 years in prison for first-degree robbery. She was originally charged with first-degree murder in the 2020 shooting death of Sarah Pascoe. 3 other suspects in the crime have been sentenced. For more on that and the status of the remaining suspects, you can check out this story, KOAMnewsnow.com. Independence, Kansas police arrest 2 suspects accused of throwing a chemical bomb out of a vehicle. The incident happened on February 2nd. Police say Kendra Musgrove and Josh Wallace made the bomb and threw it near the home of Wallace's ex-wife. Both Musgrove and Wallace are charged with criminal use of explosives, attempted criminal damage to property and aggravated assault, and attempted arson. Inflation remains an issue for consumers, but its impact continues to be a burden on nonprofits and the services they provide. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with the Area Agency on Aging about ways that price increases have affected the help they provide to the community.
As people head to gas stations or the grocery store, it's hard to ignore price increases in everyday needs. For nonprofits, inflation affects the care they can provide to those they serve.
The fuel prices just in the last couple of months have skyrocketed, and they're just going to continue to go up. So that's something that we're constantly going to have to keep our eye on.
The Area Agency on Aging provides assistance to seniors throughout Southwest Missouri, from Lamar all the way to McDonald County. So a rise in gas prices creates some financial woes beyond paying at the pump.
That's a lot of miles per week that we're putting on these trucks. So, we have to replace the tires every so often. We have some trucks that are not really old, but they need a lot of maintenance so that we can make sure that they're going to go all the way down to McDonald County and back safely without any issues.
Inflation also impacts services like meals that the nonprofit distributes.
It affects our nutrition program primarily because of the food costs, serving meals at the senior centers, making sure we have all the components for the home delivered meals program.
All of their meals must be USDA approved. To afford to meet that requirement, the nonprofit has needed to increase their amount of fundraisers to fill in the gaps between funding they receive and costs they pay.
Our end goal is just to make sure our seniors are getting the services they need, and that's what we want to do, but it's a pretty big challenge with the way costs are going right now.
And while they've been able to continue their services, the nonprofit worries they'll need to start a wait list for people in the future. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Area Agency on Aging also says they've been stuck with funding amount from 2009. Oklahoma's state tax on grocery purchases would be eliminated under a bill a Senate committee easily approved. The tax currently stands at 4.5%. The Senate Finance Committee unanimously approved the bill on Tuesday. A similar measure to phase out the tax over 3 years cleared a House committee last week with bipartisan support. Governor Kevin Stitt endorsed the idea last week in his State of the State address. Neither bill would prohibit cities or counties from levying their own sales tax on groceries. The Oklahoma Commissioner of Public Safety announces due to inclement weather, state agencies may temporarily reduce non-essential services beginning this morning at 7 a.m. and ending at 12 p.m. The reduction will affect the following counties in Oklahoma: Kay and Noble counties, Osage, Payne, and Pawnee. State employees designated to maintain basic minimum services or staff essential functions should remain at work or report to work as scheduled. Here's Michael with a look at your forecast.
Just of note, Tanya, CJ and Webb on our closing list of schools as well. And we've got a college now that has made the call, Neosho County Community College in Chanute, canceling classes for today. I want to point out not only the freezing rain, as evident in pink, right here, right on the Labette-Cherokee County line. Heavy rain. And that's why we've got those flooding concerns, because the rain's going to stick around until about mid-morning until it's replaced by all snow. Temperature is going to continue to drop everybody below the freezing point by the time we get to the noon hour.
All right, well, this morning we're discussing your work-life balance. The new series Severance takes a look at work-life balance through a darkly comedic lens. And this isn't the first time the subject has been given a comedy treatment. Both versions of The Office did it for years, and the movie Office Space is a bona fide cult classic, each one poking fun at the lives of workers in an office setting. Not to reserve the comedic examination of working life to only The Office, work-life balance in whatever setting has been popular fodder for comedy for decades. Which brings us to our question.
I want to know how your work-life balance is going, and I'm very impressed. 42%, Tanya, they consider it good. Now, right behind that, 34% say too much work. You know, coming up here in the next hour, we got a story coming up and some interesting percentages on people who started working from home once the pandemic started and how many of them don't want to go back into the office, citing their work-life balance.
There you go. That's a look at our top news stories coming up on the KOAM. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, a judge orders the former Honduran president to remain in custody while awaiting possible extradition to the U.S. for drug trafficking. We'll have the latest there. Plus, while many of us here in the 4 states may not be feeling the cold, we're going to introduce you to a man who's transforming it into an ice garden. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Indigo Sky Casino is...
Topping World Watch, new satellite images show Russian forces massed along Ukraine's borders have increased by approximately 7,000 troops in recent days, despite claims of pulling back. A senior U.S. administration official said the increase renders Russia's claims about de-escalation false, while the country privately mobilizes for war. On Tuesday, President Vladimir Putin said Russia was sending some troops back to base after completing drills. But new satellite imagery from Maxar Technology shows that in several regions close to Ukraine, Russian forces were consolidating and adding to their positions. And in western Russia, images suggest troops and equipment remain deployed at a training area near the city of Kursk. The new estimates would place the number of Russian forces north of the 150,000 number that President Joe Biden cited in a televised address earlier this week. Well, there are increasing concerns Russia could launch a cyber attack on crucial infrastructure in the U.S. Asia Hasni has the specifics from Capitol Hill.
He can take any step of seen and unseen. He has the right to do that.
The White House is keeping its cards close to the vest when it comes to how it would respond if the U.S. confirms Russia is indeed behind Tuesday's cyber attacks on websites belonging to Ukraine's army and banks. But Fox News has learned Russia could target critical infrastructure here at home. Electrical grids, water systems, government communications, even a similar event to last year's Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack that led to panic buying and fuel shortages across the Southeast. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency has issued an unprecedented Shields Up alert, advising all American organizations, big and small, to adopt a heightened posture when it comes to protecting their most critical assets. On Tuesday, President Biden addressed the threat, saying, "We're prepared to respond." But both Republicans and Democrats on the Hill aren't so sure.
We've shown cyber weaknesses. We need to increase our cyber defense.
I don't think they're prepared. I mean, we've seen cyber attack after cyber attack since this administration took office.
With the looming threat, Senators Rob Portman and Gary Peters introduced a bipartisan cybersecurity package last week. It would require companies supplying critical infrastructure to report attacks to the government and make sure federal agencies adopt cloud-based technology to protect themselves.
We are better prepared than we have been in the past, but we're not well prepared.
Senator Portman tells me his best hope is that cybersecurity package is enacted in the next couple of weeks, but a Russian cyber attack could come well before then. A Honduran judge orders the provisional arrest against former President Juan Hernandez while he is awaiting possible extradition to the United States, where he's accused of drug trafficking. Spokesman for the Supreme Court of Justice of Honduras reported the judge also denied his defense's request to place him under house arrest. Hernandez was arrested this past Tuesday in the city of Tegucigalpa after an arrest warrant was issued against him. Some of the biggest headlines from around the world. Let's go to Michael. He's got some news for you as well.
Thank you, Tanya. This just coming in, the Joplin R8 School District announcing it is going virtual only. Once again, we've got breaking news from KOAM Newsnow.com. The Joplin R8 School District announcing that today's classes will be virtually only. We'll come back, talk about some closings and the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Join us.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A judge sentences Benjamin Mason II to 25 years without the possibility of parole for killing 19-year-old Kimberly Meeks in 2019. Mason pled no contest to a charge of first-degree murder in the case. He had originally been charged with a number of other crimes in the shooting, including attempted first-degree murder, but those charges were dropped as part of a plea deal. The judge sentences Kimberly Henderson to 25 years in prison for first-degree robbery. She was originally charged with first-degree murder in the 2020 shooting death of Sarah Pascoe. 3 other suspects in the crime have been sentenced. For more on that and the status of the remaining suspects, you can check out this story at KOAMNewsNow.com. Independence, Kansas police arrest 2 suspects accused of throwing a chemical bomb out of a vehicle. The incident happened February 2nd. Police say Kendra Musgrove and Josh Wallace made the bomb and threw it near the home of Wallace's ex-wife. Both Musgrove and Wallace are charged with criminal use of explosives, attempted criminal damage to property, aggravated assault, and attempted arson. Mercy Hospital in Joplin is changing its visitor restrictions to pre-pandemic policies, except when visiting COVID-positive patients. Hospital visitors will not be screened when they come in, but will still need to wear a medical-grade mask. Officials say the change stems from changes to Medicare and Medicaid services guidelines. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Most recent, well, not a closing, how about a change in schedule? Most recent one involving our largest school district in the 4 states is Joplin R8 announces it will be doing virtual only today. Virtual only. Once again, that's not a cancellation. That is an amendment to your usual class schedule. Remember, we've got already building up slick spots on the road with the freezing rain, eventually transitioning over to snow. We'll break down the Skywatch storm tracker right after this.
Dear Win.
A Minneapolis front yard is turning heads and warming hearts. Kristen Mitchell shows us the work behind an ice garden that just keeps growing.
It took about 12 days to put up. I think there's around 30 pieces.
Whoever says gardening isn't for the winter,
You have to have flowers.
hasn't met Andrew Bentley.
I started with just a couple small ones.
His green thumb may be hidden inside of his warm
And it
mitten,
just unlocked some creative energy in me and outburst this ice garden.
but his love for winter is sprouting from the frozen ground.
I've been doing ceramics for about 25 years, so I love sculpting and making large pieces. And when I first started working with this medium of ice, I was just astounded. It's so dynamic.
He hoped the project would get his kids outside in the winter.
Hi, birdie.
But they weren't as fond of the cold.
Okay. Most people look at the weather and they look at the temperatures, those frigid days, they're kind of dreading. Those are my favorite days to do this.
You say that with a tear going down your
That's right.
face.
It's still a little cold.
So he started experimenting.
It just froze immediately. So I thought, all right, that's where the bench is going.
Using balloons and various containers to freeze shapes,
But please don't sit on it.
including a Valentine for his wife.
She is such a beautiful person.
Though it wasn't much of a surprise.
She saw me making it out the back window.
Andrew is the true artist in our family, and the rest of us get to enjoy it.
Now we'll have a year-round garden. We'll just spray the back here.
Warming hearts.
And there you have it.
During our
There's
coldest
flower.
days.
And we'll call this the Kirsten flower.
Aw, she got a flower named after her. Well, speaking of ice, we'll take a look at your forecast when we return.
Starting to end up with some partially covered roads on I-49 as you progress north toward Kansas City. So checking out the Missouri Department of Transportation page, the farther you get north of Lamar, the more you're going to see it pile up on it. 44 so far staying clean, but 44 is in the midst of some torrential rainfall, especially right in between Joplin and Miami. Throw Cherokee County, Kansas in there as well and move all the way up to Carthage. Give you an idea when you see that orange right there. Now, up top of it, that pink indicates the freezing rain. That's going to be a concern as it drops down to the southeast. Right now, Joplin and Carthage hanging right above the freezing mark. But as it does move that way, it will present itself. Keeping an eye on 7th and Rangeline right now. Purple is the wintry mix of the rain and the snow, and then eventually up to the north. That's where we'll see the majority of the accumulation, where we'll see pockets of 4 to 6 inches. Numerous cancellations that continue to grow throughout the course of our morning, namely our 2 largest public school districts being Pittsburgh USD 250 that's canceled for today, and then Joplin R8 going virtual only. Not a cancellation, virtual only is the Joplin R8 designation for this Thursday. As we work into the afternoon hours, we'll see this thing transition all over into snow, push its way south of the interstate. Certainly the majority of the snowfall is going to stay to the north. Give you an idea of our forecasted snow amounts, anywhere from could see 4 to 6 pockets of 8 inches as you get toward Kansas City right there. That's going to be on the rare side, certainly. And then anywhere from about, say, 1 to 3, 1 to 4 inches for that central portion, dusting to 1 inch when you push below the interstate. Mainly it's going to be just watching the slick spots out on the roads for this morning, because even though we're above that freezing mark, we're already developing them here and there. We get through today safely and we can actually take a deep breath. It will not be an elongated affair for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Nice little warming trend. Let's come back and talk specifically about those closings right after this.
Coming up, a judge hands down a 25-year sentence for a drive-by shooting.
Winter weather presenting us with not only cancellations, but also some treacherous driving conditions. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And nonprofit groups feel the strain from the rising cost of gas and groceries.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll have those stories in a state filing a lawsuit against the White House over mask mandates. But before we get there, let's check in with our winter weather outside with Michael in the Skywatch Weather Center.
All right, we're going to start with the Missouri Department of Transportation map, Tanya, because this is the area that we were just focusing in on just our last segment. Partially covered right here as you get on I-49, and then after you get past Lamar and you keep on moving to the north, that dark blue right there, that's going to represent almost fully covered roads. Now the tower camera is still pretty dark outside, kind of hard to pick up exactly what's going on, but that's your indicator. We haven't seen it sink too far to the south as of yet, but what we're anticipating here, the majority of the 4 states and the highlighted counties are certainly going to end up with slick conditions, push farther to the south below I-44, and that's where you're going to end up with wet roads. But even with that being said, everybody just slow down. Let's talk about our cancellations. KOAMnewsnow.com, KOAMnewsnow.com. We've got businesses, organizations, activities, and probably more importantly for most of you, schools, including Joplin R8 that is now going to go virtual only for today. Joplin R8 making the call to go virtually only. Pittsburgh USD 250 canceling classes for today. We've seen this list grow and grow throughout the course of our morning. So not only can you find it at our website, but of course we keep that running for you on the bottom of the screen throughout the KOAM morning news as well. Rain, torrential coming down sideways at 7th and Rangeline. That's why we've got flooding concerns for southwest Missouri as well. We're actually slipping right at the freezing mark. It's been down, down, down ever since about the 3, 4 o'clock hour. We're seeing the majority of southeast Kansas make the transition into mostly snow. Purple indicates the rain-snow mix. That, of course, is your danger line, the pink, the freezing rain. And this right here is why we're going to be talking about flooding, 2 to 4 inches of rain as this progresses down to the southeast. Eventually, we're going to flip over into all snow. That'll be later this morning into the early afternoon hours. Snow hangs around until the late afternoon, early evening, and then as it departs, frigid cold overnight, single-digit wind chills.
Yes. Keep an eye on that for sure. Those low temperatures are super dangerous.
Yes, because we're talking about, right now we're concentrating on road conditions, flood watches, and winter weather warnings. Tonight we're going to have to talk about safety, if pets, people out and about, multiple layers.
Yeah, for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. A Coffeyville, Kansas man heads to prison for a drive-by shooting death. A judge sentenced Benjamin Mason II to 25 years without the possibility of parole for killing 19-year-old Kimberly Meeks. Meeks was shot and killed in 2019. Mason pleaded no contest to first-degree murder. He had originally been charged with a number of other crimes in the shooting, but those charges were dropped as part of a plea deal. Mason was 18 at the time of the shooting. One of 9 suspects in a murder investigation is also headed to prison. A judge sentenced Kimberly Henderson to 25 years in prison for the first-degree robbery. She was originally charged with first-degree murder in the 2020 shooting death of Sarah Pascoe in Lawrence County, Missouri. 3 other suspects in the crime have already been sentenced. For more on that and the status of the remaining suspects, you can check out this story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, police in Independence, Kansas arrest 2 suspects who they say threw a chemical bomb out of a vehicle. It happened February 2nd. Police say Kendra Musgrove and Josh Wallace made the bomb and threw it near the home of Wallace's ex-wife. Both Musgrove and Wallace are charged with criminal use of explosives, attempted criminal damage to property, aggravated assault, and attempted arson. Mercy Hospital in Joplin is changing its visitor restrictions to pre-pandemic policies, except when visiting COVID-positive patients. Hospital visitors will not be screened when they come in, but still need to wear a medical-grade mask. Officials say the change stems from changes to Medicare and Medicaid services guidelines. Now, coming up later this half hour, we'll find out about the latest CDC mask mandate meeting and possible changes on the horizon. 4 state nonprofits are hit hard by inflation on goods such as groceries and fuel. The Area Agency on Aging says it's trying to work around it. The biggest program affected is Meals on Wheels. It says government funding has not changed since 2009, and dealing with today's inflation makes it difficult to deliver meals to seniors.
Making sure we have all the components for the home delivered meals program, and it also includes maintenance on the trucks that we use to deliver those meals. We got the fuel, the tires, all of that. We are stuck at 2009 funding from the state and the federal government.
Agency says it's increased the number of fundraisers per year to help with cost. Oklahoma state tax on grocery purchases would be eliminated under a bill a Senate committee easily approved. The tax currently stands at 4.5%. Senate Finance Committee unanimously approved the bill on Tuesday. A similar measure to phase out the tax over 3 years cleared a House committee last week with bipartisan support. Governor Kevin Stitt endorsed the idea last week in his State of the State address. Neither bill would prohibit cities or counties from levying their own sales taxes on groceries. Well, break out your costumes because the Freeman 5K and Walk for Freedom will have a superhero theme. The event raises money for the Bill and Virginia Leffen Center for Autism. Officials say the superhero theme was chosen because the money raised can make a world of difference for families.
The money raised here primarily goes to help us with program development to be able to provide services to individuals in the Joplin area and the 4-state area. Also helps to fund our scholarship program for our younger children that receive intensive ABA therapy.
The race is set for April 23rd at the Leffen Center. It starts at 8 a.m. You can find sign-up information in the story online, KOAMnewsnow.com. Oklahoma Commissioner of Public Safety says this morning's weather may temporarily reduce non-essential state services beginning this morning at 7, ending at noon. The reduction will affect the following counties in Oklahoma: Kay, Noble, Osage, Payne, and Pawnee. State employees designated to maintain basic minimum services or staff essential functions should remain at work or report to work as scheduled.
You were just talking about Osage County. It just so happens our first storm report of the morning coming out of Osage County. There's a reason why that mandate went into effect. 1/10 of an ice accumulation already on the roads in Osage County, Oklahoma. Right along that pink line is where we see it with the freezing rain. Goes to show you how quickly that can build even with the warm weather that we've had lately. Eventually later this morning transitioning into snow, anywhere from 2 to 4 inches for the central portion, 1 inch to a dusting below I-44, but you work up north of Highway 54, could be looking at 4 to 6 inches before it's all said and done. All the latest closings at KOAMnewsnow.com.
Well, it was on this day in 1801 the U.S. House of Representatives finally decided how to reconcile a tied presidential election between Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr. Now, after the electoral votes were counted, each candidate had 73 votes. He took 36 ballots in the House before Jefferson, with help from his rival Alexander Hamilton, defeated Burr. The election only added to the animosity between Hamilton and Burr, leading in part to the 1804 duel that left Hamilton dead, and Vice President Burr charged with murder. I want to say times have changed. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, we've got your complete weather forecast coverage all morning long, plus how a family legacy is cycling to diversity one petal at a time, and why it's mask optional at one of the largest conventions in the U.S. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Lander Chevrolet of Joplin is your official We Buy.
Topping Nation Watch, a Kansas City woman facing charges of first-degree murder. Brian Johnson with the story of how police say the woman killed her 6-year-old son, and the child was decapitated.
They saw what appeared to be a blood trail to the front door and then looked in and saw something very disturbing.
Fearing the other children who live at the home might be in danger, police forced entry. Finding none, they detained the mother, secured the scene, and got a search warrant. The prosecutor believes the 6-year-old boy died while in the bathtub.
Because she was in such extreme mental distress, she did a series of things that were very disturbing.
Police say the boy was decapitated. Officers saw blood on the porch, the woman's hands, and on knives inside the home.
Anytime it's a child, it just takes on a different depth of despair.
Tasha Haves admitted to police that she killed the victim.
And I understand that we are all struggling with trials and tribulations in our life, but this mental issue is going too far.
Getting justice for the boy is task one, but prosecutor Jean Peters Baker says prevention is second.
Is there some opportunity for us to learn so that we can protect others going forward?
Prosecutors want the woman to be held without bond. The state of Texas is suing the Biden administration to overturn the president's federal mask mandate, specifically for public transportation. Texas Attorney General described the measure as disrespectful of the U.S. Constitution. State's lawsuit claims President Biden's orders not only violate U.S. law, but also the Constitution. Two brothers, Justin and Corey Williams, are using their success in cycling to drive for change. For Black History Month, Danye Bacchus spoke to the Williams brothers about their careers, how they're bringing diversity to the sport, and the legacy they're building.
When it comes to the world of pro cycling,
Corey Williams just in front of Justin Williams.
Brothers Corey and Justin Williams are a force to be reckoned with.
He's going to repeat as champion.
They're known for winning. Between the two of them, they hold numerous state and national championship titles. But their reputation isn't all about their accolades. They're seen as change agents looking to expand the sport.
Perceived as disruptors of the industry. How do you feel about that?
I don't care.
I don't care at all.
Yeah, I think we're just being ourselves, you know.
Exactly. Finally.
And the problem is, it is disruptive.
I don't see it as disruption. I see it as like evolution.
The Williams brothers are trailblazers. In 2019, they created the only Black-owned pro cycling team in the world, the Legion of Los Angeles. Because as two of only a handful of Black pro cyclists, they say they quickly learned talent doesn't equal acceptance.
What has it been like for you guys as Black cyclists?
You start ignoring kind of the things that, you know, come your way.
Maybe it's a national team thing where you didn't get a call up, but the national team is raving about a kid that you constantly beat.
Legion of Los Angeles promotes diversity and inclusion. The E&G and Legion are a 3 and 9 representing 39th Street, where they grew up in South Central Los Angeles. For them, their platform is for more than just winning.
We're trying to make an avenue for younger children that of color to have someone to look up to and aspire to be.
Being able to be that inspiration and that light and that kind of northern star for a lot of kids that come into the sport, I think it gives a lot of hope.
They're creating what they didn't see and building a lasting legacy that could forever change the sport they love. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Williams brothers also want to advance women's cycling working to create equal payouts for both men and women. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be back with Chef Anthony in Studio K right after this.
Good luck.
All right, Chef Anthony Fisher from Pittsburgh High School Culinary Arts is in Studio K this morning. That's what we like to call our studio kitchen. But I'm in session today. This is Vegetables 101.
Yes. We're going to talk about how to properly buy your vegetables, what's the wisest way to buy your vegetables, and how to save a little bit of money.
Okay.
So everybody's familiar with good old-fashioned canned green beans.
Mm-hmm.
But what's wrong with canned green beans?
They're already partially cooked.
They're already fully cooked.
Oh, fully cooked.
They're already fully cooked inside of here. You throw them up, you heat them up. It takes 2 or 3 minutes to heat them up. Not too bad,
no.
Especially if you're in a rush. Frozen green beans, uncooked, open to new flavors, and you can hold these for a year inside your refrigerator, inside of your freezer.
I'm guessing these have the best nutrient value too.
Yes, and surprisingly enough, the cream of the crop at harvest goes straight to freeze.
Really?
Because they want that beautiful look, they want the appearance. Same thing goes for fruit. The best strawberries, the best blueberries, all immediately get frozen and then set up to be stored. They last longer, they look beautiful, they're available to you year round. The price difference between all three of these, and then is surprising. We also have fresh green beans, which are really easy to use. Just kind of all depends upon what you like. Downside of the fresh green beans, you're gonna get about a week. So, and with the bad weather and everything going on around everywhere, how do we stock up? Well, canned vegetables like these right here, 68 cents, 80 cents a can. Okay, they take up shelf room in this pantry, not a problem. The fresh green beans, twice as many, or excuse me, the frozen green beans, twice as many, $1.38.
If you have a deep freeze, that doesn't take up much space.
And even in the freezer on top of your fridge, it really doesn't take up that much. You could stack up bags and you're getting twice as many as the cans for just a little bit more.
Okay.
Fresh green beans, $2.58 for 12 ounces of them, and you'll get about a week at them. There's enough servings in both of these to equal 2 cans of green beans. So you're going to get flavors. But the benefit of the frozen and the fresh is they're uncooked, so you can flavor them however you want. They'll take seasonings however you want. You can steam them, you can saute them, you can boil them, you can do anything your heart can imagine with them. I show the kids how to use all three through the course of the semester because you want to eat healthy. You want something different all the time. And later on today, I'll show you the benefits of using frozen versus green or even fresh.
Now, if you're putting together like a emergency preparedness storm shelter, you're not going to have the luxury of electricity necessarily.
That is true.
That's where you would want to.
Yes,
have something like this.
Inside of a storm shelter and preparing for electricity, you do want to have the can because they are fully cooked. You can open the can and start eating them right out of the can.
Don't forget something to open your can with.
Yes. Surprisingly enough, not many people have can openers anymore. They all have the electric can opener. You need to get a good old-fashioned, strong, all-metal twist-top can opener.
I do like my electric can opener, but it's not going to work if you don't have electricity.
Exactly. And yes, with the bad weather coming in, and you may lose electricity, but remember, you keep the freezer frozen, you'll last quite a bit of time with the door being shut. You can reach in, grab something real quick, and take it out, especially if you know exactly what you have in there.
Right. Less airspace, the better on it. Okay, so we're going to come back during our Fox show and make some yummy pork.
Yes,
we are.
Tell us a
little bit about that?
We're going to do a pork cutlet with mashed potatoes, a pan sauce, and green beans. We're going to do a whole plate, beautiful for a day like today.
Yummy. Looking forward to that.
And we're going to use things that you can stock in your pantry to help you maximize space and economics. I figured it up. Today's meal will cost you about $3.
Wow. That's awesome.
So
we'll take that.
We'll save some money.
Thank you for Veggies 101, a little bit of learning here this morning. And again, you can find this later this morning on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. After we do our other segments, we'll put those on as well. Thank you.
My pleasure.
See you. We'll send you off to the break room and see you soon. We'll be right back.
Inside.
A growing number of states have already dropped indoor mask mandates for businesses. But as Mola Laney shows us, the debate over masking in schools That continues to rage on.
We want to give people mask wearing when these metrics are better, and then have the ability to reach for them again should things worsen.
For now, the CDC's recommendations remain unchanged. Regardless of vaccination status, everyone should wear a mask in indoor public spaces in areas of high transmission. As of today, that's more than 96% of U.S. counties. In the last 2 weeks, 11 states and Washington, D.C. have rolled back their mask mandates. But 55% of the nation's top 500 school districts require masks, while more than 40% do not. In Pennsylvania, the decision to mandate masks rests with local districts. At Conestoga High School outside Philadelphia, tensions have reached a boiling point. On Friday, dozens of students who believe masks should be optional staged a walkout. Ben Shapiro is a sophomore and works on the school paper.
Just a lot of hatred coming from both sides directed at each other.
The district says the debate then spilled onto social media, leading to hundreds of comments, then potential threats. The district decided to close the school Monday, moving instruction online.
It seems like a distracting environment to go to school in.
Every period it's sort of just wondering, is something else going to happen, or is there going to be another walkout?
As a precaution, there's been an increased police presence here on school grounds this week. In a statement, the school district said in part that it has been exploring ways to move away from mandatory masking since January. Mo Lalengi, CBS News, Berwyn, Pennsylvania.
Now, speaking of wearing masks, there's going to be tens of thousands of people at the Las Vegas Convention Center this week. They don't have to wear masks if they don't want to. You see, the convention center is hosting 3 major fashion-centered trade shows just days after the governor suddenly dropped Nevada's mask mandate. Organizers and vendors have been busy updating websites and signs to indicate masks are recommended but not required. One employee with the convention center said so far about 90% of the attendees are maskless. However, there are still vendors wearing masks, especially if they feel their clients prefer it. 2 hospitals in Oklahoma City are getting a boost from the armed forces. OU Medical Center and Integris have a helping hand from both the U.S. Army and the Air Force. Now, between the 4 major hospital systems in OKC, there were only 2 ICU beds available earlier this week. 2 of them. 25 soldiers from the U.S. Army, 40 airmen from the Air Force helping nursing staffs lighten the load. They arrive at the OU Medical Center and Integris Baptist Hospital to help these nurses actually get a break.
The beds are full, and they're incorporating our team right in along with their staff in their schedule.
Military teams are made up of physicians, nurses, and technicians, and they'll be working in the Oklahoma City hospitals until early March. Probably going to actually be extended past that is what they anticipate. Let's take a live look over 7th and Range Line. With the rain coming down so hard, it's about sideways right now, and the temperature is continuing to fall as Joplin has now hit the freezing mark of 32 degrees. You'll notice the wind almost as strong as what it has been the past couple of days. Just completely different direction now that it moves in from the north. Still gusts at 20-30 miles per hour and a wind chill down to 21 in Joplin. Here's what we've got on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Starting to see the majority of southeast Kansas make that transition into all snow. But we've got the freezing rain right here in the pink, now dropping out of Pittsburgh down to the southeast through Joplin, Carthage, Columbus, Oswego. That means 160, 44, 49, 126. Those are going to be problematic travel areas for this morning, and I can attest to it. I just walked out because I wanted some firsthand knowledge about it. We're now developing a slush in the parking lots and also on the windshields. Temperatures continue to drop single digits later on today. We'll come back, talk closings and cancellations right after this.
Anyone with a
Coming up, a judge hands down a 25-year sentence for a drive-by shooting.
Our winter weather going to make our roads a whole lot worse before we can recover from this treacherous Thursday morning travel. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And nonprofit groups feel the strain from the rising cost of gas and groceries.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:30. I'm Tanya Bonk. Those stories and the price tag on a possible record-setting diamond. Better hope you win the lottery to afford this thing. Before we get there, let's check in on our winter weather with Michael in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Tanya, earlier this morning we started with a handful of school closings. It's now become a laundry list, and of course you can find that complete list by going to KOAMnewsnow.com. Not only does it contain schools, but also businesses, government buildings, activities, organizations, the entire nine. Of note, USD 250 in Pittsburgh closed for today. Joplin R8, excuse me. On the bottom of the screen, reasons on the bottom, we had additional added to the top. Joplin R8 going virtual only for today. So that's where we stand with our closings. Let's talk about our travel concerns, because we've been updating the Department of Transportation website, and we've got developments here in our color codes and what we're seeing on I-49. Earlier we were going partially covered. Now that we've turned purple there from about 126 down here, and as you work up 49, that indicates completely covered roads. And as we get a little bit of daylight, we'll get a better indicator from some of the MoDOT traffic cams. Now as you push down to the south, see there where it's green along the 249-44 interchange. That still means it's clear, but even with that being said, it's going to be very, very wet because the rain coming in sideways right now. It's been torrential at 7th and Range Line and right at the freezing mark of 32 degrees. So please know that's going to develop some slick spots as the colder temperatures progress from northwest down to southeast. So that's that line of freezing rain that we see right there in the pink. It will continue to drop. How about that? A little lightning picked up right along the Missouri-Arkansas state line. They even had a severe thunderstorm warning, not for our highlighted counties, but give you an idea, this thing's packing a little punch. We get the purple of the wintry mix, combination of the rain and the snow, almost the sludge, if you will. That's what that's going to create. Most of southeast Kansas now turning all over into snow, and that's where we'll see the majority of our snow accumulation as well. Watches and warnings. Let's start with the flood watches, because we saw that rain at 7th and Range Line, 2 to 4 inches. We're going to see our rivers, our creeks, and our streams. Those are going to fill up quickly. Got to remember, our ground has been so dry as of late. We really can't support a whole lot of water that fast. And now, anywhere down into southwest Missouri, right at the freezing mark. So that cold front dropping our wind chills into single digits up to the north currently as we stand. Tanya, just need everybody to take it easy. Use the words of Chef Anthony. Everybody slow down out there.
Yeah.
Take your time. Like I said, you may think you're driving through rain. There are going to be slick spots with as fast as these temperatures have cooled.
All right, definitely be safe. Give yourself that little bit of extra time.
Yes.
And increase your follow distance, for sure.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Michael. A Coffeyville, Kansas man heads to prison for a drive-by shooting death. A judge sentenced Benjamin Mason II to 25 years without the possibility of parole for killing 19-year-old Kimberly Meeks. Meeks was shot and killed in 2019. Mason pleaded no contest to first-degree murder. He had originally been charged with a number of other crimes in the shooting, but those charges were dropped as part of a plea deal. Mason was 18 at the time of the shooting. One of 9 suspects in a murder investigation is also headed to prison. A judge sentenced Kimberly Henderson to 25 years in prison for first-degree robbery. She was originally charged with first-degree murder in the 2020 shooting death of Sarah Pascoe in Lawrence County, Missouri. 3 other suspects in the crime have already been sentenced. For more on that and the status of the remaining suspects, you can check out this story at KOAMnewsnow.com. Police in Independence, Kansas arrest 2 suspects who they say threw a chemical bomb out of a vehicle. It happened February 2nd. Police say Kendra Musgrove and Josh Wallace made the bomb and threw it near the home of Wallace's ex-wife. Both Musgrove and Wallace are charged with criminal use of explosives, attempted criminal damage to property, aggravated assaults, and attempted arson. Inflation remains an issue for consumers, but its impact continues to be a burden on nonprofits and the services they provide. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with the Area Agency on Aging about ways that price increases have affected the help they provide to the community.
As people head to gas stations or the grocery store, it's hard to ignore price increases in everyday needs. For nonprofits, inflation affects the care they can provide to those they serve.
The fuel prices just in the last couple of months have skyrocketed, and they're just going to continue to go up. So that's something that we're constantly going to have to keep our eye on.
The Area Agency on Aging provides assistance to seniors throughout Southwest Missouri. from Lamar all the way to McDonald County. So a rise in gas prices creates some financial woes beyond paying at the pump.
That's a lot of miles per week that we're putting on these trucks. So, we have to replace the tires every so often. We have some trucks that are not really old, but they need a lot of maintenance so that we can make sure that they're going to go all the way down to McDonald County and back safely without any issues.
Inflation also impacts services like meals that the nonprofit distributes.
It affects our nutrition program primarily because of the food costs, serving meals at the senior centers, making sure we have all the components for the home delivered meals program.
All of their meals must be USDA approved. To afford to meet that requirement, the nonprofit has needed to increase their amount of fundraisers to fill in the gaps between funding they receive and costs they pay.
Our end goal is just to make sure our seniors are getting the services they need, and that's what we want to do, but it's a pretty big challenge with the way costs are going right now.
And while they've been able to continue their services, the nonprofit worries they'll need to start a wait list for people in the future. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
The Area Agency on Aging also says they've been stuck with a funding amount from 2009. Oklahoma state tax on grocery purchases could be eliminated under a bill a Senate committee has easily approved. The tax currently stands at 4.5%. The Senate Finance Committee unanimously approved the bill on Tuesday. Similar measure to phase out the tax over 3 years cleared a House committee last week with bipartisan support. Governor Kevin Stitt endorsed the idea last week in his State of the State address. Neither bill would prohibit cities or counties from levying their own sales taxes on groceries. On this day in 1971, President Richard Nixon departs Washington, D.C. for a historic trip to China. And while the formal talks between the two nations would not start for another couple of days, Nixon's departure began the slow process of reestablishing diplomatic relations between the United States and Communist China. The two nations had been bitter enemies. China and U.S. troops fought in Korea during the early 1950s, and Chinese aid and advisors supported North Vietnam in its war against the United States. All right, let's go to Michael in the Skywatch Weather Center.
We've talked about the precipitation, and rightfully so. Let's take a couple seconds and talk about our wind chills and our temperatures. We're as low as 8 degrees right now out in Yates Center in the far northwestern portion of our counties. Give you an idea, as the heavy rain continues to push down to the southeast, but it will of course be replaced by the freezing rain indicated in the pink, now about to make its way over I-44 in between Miami and in Joplin. It's also dominating portions of Highway 160, Highway 96, and a little bit of I-49 as well. Best thing to do right now is to slow down and just take it easy. Get through this. Light at the end of the tunnel. High 30s tomorrow, 50s on Saturday, 60s on Sunday.
All right, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, why the pandemic has people saying no thank you when it comes to going back to the office. Also, just how is that work-life balance working out for you? That's this morning, something to talk about. We want you to weigh in. We'll be right back.
Do you love a sleek, modern look, or maybe you prefer classic? And just be any easier than that. Metro Appliances and More, the right price on the right products right now.
In Consumer Watch this morning, make sure you pack your patience the next time you pack your luggage. Federal prosecutors have charged at least 9 people for interfering with flight crews since October. Pressure is increasing for unruly airline passengers to face criminal charges. The FAA says 80 of the more than 6,400 disruptive passenger cases have been referred to the DOJ for possible criminal prosecution. Wall Street waits with bated breath to see how Russia's next move affects investors. Diane King-Hall gets our business morning started from New York.
Stocks were mixed on Wednesday. The Dow fell 54 points. The Nasdaq lost 15, while the S&P 500 gained 3. The major indexes bounced off their midday lows after the Federal Reserve released minutes from its January meeting. The central bank is preparing to hike interest rates as it tries to fight inflation. The next opportunity to do so will be at the Fed's next meeting in March. Disney is building a whole new world. The company is creating a residential community called Cotino with 1,900 housing units in Southern California. The area will span 24 acres and have shopping, dining, and entertainment amenities. One section will be specifically for those 55 and older. Disney is also exploring more locations for future developments. A 15-carat blue diamond is heading to auction. The De Beers Cullinan Blue is expected to fetch more than $48 million when it goes up for bidding this April in Hong Kong. The current record for a diamond is one that sold in 2015 for $48.5 million. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Diane King Hall.
Yeah, that's my favorite color for diamonds, for sure. Several companies report quarterly earnings later today. Among those is Walmart. As more businesses call employees back to the workplace, most staffers say they would prefer to keep working remotely. According to a new survey by Pew Research, some 60% of those asked want to keep working from home all or most of the time. Some said they still fear being exposed to COVID, but 3 out of 4 just prefer working from home. About 1/3 cited childcare as an issue in returning to the office. For about 17%, geography plays a major role, indicating that some have relocated. 64% of those surveyed said remote work has improved their work-life balance. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
So in other words, that other diamond that I got you obviously wasn't up to snuff. Okay. See how it is. You got the 48 million blue one. I can't believe you.
Now you're going to start some rumors, Michael.
Coming off of Tanya talking about working from home and whatnot. That's actually the subject of work-life balance and our Something to Talk About this morning on the KOAM News Now Instapoll. There's a new TV series called Severance. It takes a look at work-life balance through a darkly comedic lens, because sometimes that's the best way to get through a day. Our question for you this morning is, how is your work-life balance? And I find it impressive. 39% of you say you feel that it truly is good. And that's tremendous. I love to see that. 24% of you feel like you have too much work. 19% say day to day it seems manageable. And hey, 13% of you, absolutely perfect. That is great. Each and every morning, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or connect to us via our Facebook page. We're going to come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. But first, we check in with Nate in New York.
Listen, coming up on CBS Mornings, meet some Team USA siblings who hope to win it all in Olympic curling. Find out if it's sibling support or rivalry that drives the brother and sister on the ice. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We only have...
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant George Graham in the U.S. Army. Soldier from Nevada, Missouri, joined the 691st Field Artillery in 1942. He was stationed in France, Belgium, Holland, and in Germany, working as a forward observer and as a scout. Sergeant Graham fought at the Battle of the Bulge. He earned 2 Bronze Stars and the Good Conduct Medal. To Sergeant George Graham, we thank you. Today's four-state hero.
That was one of those cool stories right there, Tanya. You were talking about the Battle of the Bulge, and as you're reading that, working as a forward scout and observer. Wow. All right, you're going to notice a theme here. We're going to start with Amanda Mack, who's celebrating her 35th birthday. Amanda, a very happy birthday to you. Be safe out there and enjoy your birthday. She's in Galena.
All right. Kimberly Riddle turning 39 years old this year. Her birthday was actually yesterday, but we're going to celebrate it the rest of the week. She's from Chanute.
And Kimberly kind of starts our theme off right there. You'll notice, you just remember she's from Chanute. We're going to run down to Chetopa, and that's where Amy Castle is celebrating her 46th birthday. A proud mom. Love that shirt right there. Happy birthday, Amy.
All right, and hey, let's go back to Chanute for Norma Crabtree's birthday. Norma is 94 years old this year. I hope you have a wonderful day.
That's a cool family picture right there as well. Happy birthday, Miss Norma. Our own, who that is, Cameron Terrell, celebrating a birthday as well. He is one of our production assistant, news assistants, and production assistants. Cameron, a very happy birthday to you.
All right.
I like that picture. I like how the red chairs really pop on that.
Wonder where that was taken. Let's see, and we've got another birthday where we're heading back to Chanute again.
See, Chanute is the place to be.
Yeah, Brenda Osborne turning the big 5-0 this weekend. Happy birthday to Brenda. And as I understand, she's the owner of Brenda's Dance. And these birthday wishes come from the crew and dance families.
As a matter of fact, Brenda, if possible, we may get Tanya to do a birthday dance for you. And then Brenda can critique. How about that? A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this February the 17th. Or perhaps just like Kimberly Riddle, you're celebrating from the 16th and we're going to continue to carry it over. That's where you can send them into birthdays at KOAMTV.com. You can also go to our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
I just want to say, Brenda, I'll do your birthday dance, but you don't have to do dates. No, not necessary. All right, you can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com. Sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Now, Tanya, you've heard of a murder of crows, correct?
I have.
Well, what if I told you in St. Louis there could be somebody murdering the murder of crows? A curious case of birds that, while plaguing the city in some spots, are mysteriously croaking. We're going to break down exactly what's going on and out by the arch when we've transitioned on over to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We're going to come back, update the Skywatch Storm Tracker one last time. We'll be right back after this.
It's high winds.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A judge sentences Benjamin Mason II to 25 years without the possibility of parole for killing 19-year-old Kimberly Meeks in 2019. Mason pled no contest to a charge of first-degree murder in the case. He had originally been charged with a number of other crimes in the shooting, including attempted first-degree murder. Those charges were dropped as part of a plea deal. A judge sentences Kimberly Henderson to 25 years in prison for first-degree robbery. She was originally charged with first-degree murder in the 2020 shooting death of Sarah Pascoe. 3 other suspects in the crime have been sentenced. For more on that and the status of the remaining suspects, you can check out this story, KOAMNewsNow.com. And Independence, Kansas police arrest 2 suspects accused of throwing a chemical bomb out of a vehicle. The incident happened on February 2nd. Police say Kendra Musgrove and Josh Wallace made the bomb and threw it near the home of Wallace's ex-wife. Both Musgrove and Wallace are charged with criminal use of explosives, attempted criminal damage to property, aggravated assault, and attempted arson. Mercy Hospital in Joplin is changing its visitor restrictions to pre-pandemic policies, except when visiting COVID-positive patients. Hospital visitors will not be screened when they come in, but will still need to wear a medical-grade mask. Officials say the change stems from changes to Medicare and Medicaid services guidelines. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Tanya just got some pictures out of Crawford County in the Pittsburgh-Girard area where evidently we're getting that quick changeover from the freezing rain to the rain-snow mix all the way to snow. I really want to concentrate right here on where our 3 dividing lines are. We've got the very heavy rainfall now pushing its way south of I-44 through southwest Missouri. Of course, that's also where we have the flood watches. Most dangerous aspect that we're encountering right now is the pink area. That is the freezing rain. We've already developed slick spots, not only throughout Joplin, but also on 44 and on 49. Now, as we work into southeast Kansas, we're starting to see that transition take place into all snow. And speaking of snow, seeing as how it's going to stick around until the afternoon hours, look up to the north right here. It's some rather impressive numbers as you move down to the south. Certainly does become a whole lot lighter. And remember, all we have to do is take it nice, easy, and safe today, because this will not be like last week. This is not going to last a number of days. By the time we get to Saturday and Sunday, 50s and 60s.
All right. Well, coming up today at noon, if you like your root beer served with a big scoop of ice cream, nothing wrong with that. But Howard has a different twist on the drink as he's making Razzle Dazzle root beer pork in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
I'll tell you what, root beer float, that does sound good right now for some reason now that you bring it up. Your morning news continues on KOAM. We've got the CBS Morning News coming up next. CDC says it will loosen its guidelines on mask mandates. And a growing number of states have already dropped indoor mask requirements for businesses. That's ahead on CBS Mornings.
All right, or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
Chef Anthony.
Yes, we're going to be
Part two.
making a full meal. We're going to make pork cutlets with a veggie side and this.
For $3.
Ooh, and the whole thing. And it has a special sauce with it too.
Does it for this Thursday. Be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.
Do you love a sleek, modern look, or maybe you prefer classic and modest? There are endless ways to design the